Hi, this is Jill Powers, and I promised y'all a review of Jurassic World Rebirth, and here it is. So let's talk about this film. I went to the cinema yesterday. I caught the opening of this at our local cinema. And no, I didn't get a popcorn bucket because they weren't selling them at that one because it is an independent theater. But anyway, I was really looking forward to it because it's been a while since I've been able to do something like that. So here it is. I am going to go over some separate things with this. First of all, explain, give you a little bit of a synopsis of what this movie is about. You can look this up on IMDb, but I can give you a little bit more without spoiling it too much. So let's look at the premise here. So this is set 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion. Now I'm gonna say this. I haven't seen Dominion. I don't know how bad it is, but I will tell you how bad this one is, or how good it is. Right. Anyway, 5 years after Dominion, an extraction team is sent to this island. Is the original island, supposedly. And I think that what the writer was trying to capture with this is to bottle some lightning from the first and second movies of the Jurassic Park series. Not so much. There's some of the first Dominion, I should say Jurassic World, not Dominion, but Jurassic World, the first one. But beyond that, an extraction team is gathered together, and of this, they are sent to this island to find heart tissue from 3 different new mutant dinosaurs. Now, how they knew that these mutant dinosaurs existed, I suppose they had databases, maybe, I don't know. You're not really given any detail about that, but you are introduced to the characters almost immediately, of course. And basically, the setting that is set in, besides that it's close to French Guiana, so it's equatorial location where the island is, but they meet in New York, and there is a big pharma representative who has come to get the extraction team who will go to get these tissue samples. Now, this is the first problem of the movie, is the suspension of disbelief. I can't suspend my disbelief in this. First of all, because when we go through the movie, we find out that these are not heart tissue samples that they take. They're blood samples. They're amniotic sac fluid samples from the pterodactyl thing, dino thing, mutant, whatever you want to call it. But the setting is that people have gotten tired of dinosaurs, so they are gradually losing interest. So they're trying to find new uses for them. And the one thing the pharma rep is trying to do, they're trying to find make this new medication for heart patients. And he comes up and he immediately recruits the character of Zora. That is Scarlett Johansson's character, Zora Bennett. After her, Jonathan Bailey as Dr. Henry Loomis. And let's first of all talk about these first 2 characters here Scarlett Johansson, um, I felt like ScarJo is really miscast in this. She's a 40-year-old woman now. She can't. She's 5 foot nothing, and you know, very very slight. And I find it hard to believe that she would be a military merc, okay, a mercenary. Not believable, okay, not believable. You know, she is your typical male gaze recipient, but not believable at all. Um, that's not the biggest problem with her character, though. She, as Zora Bennett, she is arrogant. I have rarely seen a character portrayed with such hubris toward a dangerous situation that she's going into. She's very confident. I'll give her that, but and supposedly skilled as some kind of security expert. But as far as being someone that they would want to hire for a job like this, you would need like a big game hunter along with them, kind of like we had in Jurassic Park, and we don't have that. We have a Jonathan Bailey as Dr. Henry Loomis. He is a stereotypical nerdish paleontologist. As an anthropologist, he is actually the most likable character in the entire thing. Okay. There are other characters, including the team leader as Duncan Kincaid, played by Mahershala Ali, and he is the black guy who runs the boat, and we're going to talk about the importance of the boat because this is where we start off. Is going to the island. They're on their way to the island whenever they encounter this family who has somehow strayed into this region. Now, what kind of navigator this father is, who is Ruben Delgado. He is the shipwrecked family father, along with his two daughters, an 18-year-old by the name of Teresa Delgado, who is has her boyfriend with her, and this guy who plays Xavier, he's kind of a stoner, I guess you could say. So he's kind of the amusement part of this, and I guess you could say that God favors drunks and small children, because this guy, I mean, he really is kind of the comic element here, but just because he's a goof. But he actually turns out to be one of the heroes, but one of the more heroic characters. Anyway, but ScarJo's character, she has got to be, to this date, and this is a hefty title, the most insufferable girl boss I have seen so far. She has to be right up there with that Ironheart, or as I prefer to refer to her as Iron Shark, as arrogant and full of herself and entitled, and she's snarky and bitchy and just not a nice person, and she's very greedy. And when I say that, I mean she is offered, like, you know, a lot of money to go on this expedition. So she immediately signs up for it. And then they go and recruit Dr. Loomis, who is kind of reluctant, and you know he's kind of surprising because he says that, you know, killing dinosaurs isn't just a crime, it's a sin. So he takes a rather Christian attitude about that, and I'm just going, well, I don't know how that's compatible with evolutionary theory, but Okay, again, suspension of disbelief is a problem here. But we have nothing new as far as setting, as far as the island is concerned. It's still gorgeous. The cinematography is great as far as that is concerned. It is beautiful setting, but also deadly, like many beautiful things are. Okay, so. But this is the one thing. The girl bosses, this girl boss in Zora, she is pretty despicable and unlikable person overall. And they try to have a little bit of development with her and the team leader, which is Kincaid, who is driving. He actually owns and drives the boat that they're going to the island on. And it turns out that they'd been in the military together, and they had some family tragedies that happened to them, so that kind of binds them together, and they're real good friends. So that's how he got on board. But another thing that bothers me is this push. It's a very gentle push, but it's still a push, and that is the insistence that the dinosaurs were dying off because of climate change. Really, that beggars the mind, considering what science says about it, because that's not, that's only partly true. And as far as climate change caused by modern climate, no. These are animals that were never meant to exist. They existed in the Jurassic period when they were T-Rex and Triceratops and all those other dinos that we know, but not these. These are mutants that they've created, and you would have no idea what those effects were. So this is a real problem that I have, a suspension of disbelief. What do I mean by suspension of disbelief? Who originated that term? Well, that term was originated by Samuel Taylor Coleridge in Biographia Literaria, and is explaining how you need to have enough verisimilitude in any piece of fiction, or any writing for that matter, to suspend your disbelief in it. If you can't believe that it's believable, if it's not believable, then you're not going to have any use for it, and you're not going to understand it, or you're not going to like it, because you're not going to recognize it. Okay? And as someone who co-authored the lyrical ballads with William Wordsworth, he was very aware of particularly epic poem writing that he did, like Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So he knew about this. But the whole climate change, that's a very small portion. It just it's kind of like a little thorn in my side, though, because I don't believe in any of that crap. I grew up on a farm, so I know what weather is. I know what seasons are, and I also know where my food and everything else comes from. So anyway, the mission is to extract heart samples as possible meds for coronary disease. But like I said, they're not really heart samples. You would have to kill the animal and then extract tissue from the heart. I guess you could say like stem cells. Okay. But these are fluid samples. They're blood samples. DNA sample? Yeah. Okay, I get it. But for hearts? Come on. Why did you make it that specific, where when you took something else, you weren't getting it. It's far too easy, and these little parachute things, they just kind of they shoot up in the air after they're fully extracted, and they float down. So it's kind of silly. Anyway, but I don't think silly is what they want. Certainly, as far as the cast is concerned, like I said, I think ScarJo was just the wrong choice for this character. The other characters are better. Jonathan Bailey does a pretty good job as Loomis. Um, Kincaid does a good job. He's a good character. Rupert Friend as Martin Krebs is the farmer rep, and he is the one who's the slimy one. Okay, he's like the blood-sucking lawyer in Jurassic 1. So these random tourists, the father figure, Delgado, taking your kids across an ocean without not knowing that much about navigation and not having a full crew. He just has his kids on board and his daughter's boyfriend. That's it. And so when they get wrecked by the mosasaur, you know, who else? There's nobody else there. You know, at least with the extraction crew, they've got some scientists and some specialists with them, and so guess who has to rescue them, right? I don't want to spoil too much about this, but just say all of this is just kind of ridiculous. It breaks these tenets of suspension of disbelief. So, another thing that Zora does that really kind of ticks me off is her gaslighting. She gaslights people a lot, and she like I said, she's snarky. She looks down at people, and just not a very nice person. So, you had the members of the team, all of who seem to be like the red shirts in Star Trek. You know what happens to the red shirts in Star Trek, right? Yeah. We have some Deus Ex Machinas, and these are not even the worst things in here, but just things that kind of are magically there. And you know, in Ironheart, you had the magic. That actually makes a deal with the devil. There has to be magic involved to maintain power. These are the same kind of ethics. They're trading in their ethics for a huge amount of money to go and get these extractions. So, typical island, gone wild, nothing new. It doesn't. It does. This was supposedly filmed in Thailand, Malta, and the United Kingdom. As far as premise, I would give it probably a 2 out of 10. It just didn't work. And some of the reasons that it doesn't work, this goes into the writing. This goes into the thesis. It's not well thought out. It's not well conceived. The acting is bad. The dialogue is bad, especially the dialogue. And mainly I say that because it actually steals dialogue from other scripts, particularly from Jaws. And it also does a lot of copycatting of Jurassic 1 and 2, as well as Jaws 1 and 2, as far as copying of scenes and things that happen, like waving a flare to distract a dinosaur, okay? Things like that. It's too much of the same, and it's also plagiarism. Some of it is actually plagiarized. I'm going to say this. As a former English professor, maybe I wasn't that great at classroom management when it came to dealing with unruly students who didn't want to do any work. But I was very good when I was grading papers and pointing out to people when I would catch them plagiarizing, whether it was incremental or what we call patchwork plagiarism, or universal, just lifting a whole written piece off of someone else. You can't do that. There are too many people, and they've already recognized the fact. Some of your reviewers out there are already recognizing the fact that the there's a lot of copycatting in this of these scenes of especially Spielberg's scenes. Okay, from Jaws particularly. There's one line well, two lines in particular, back and forth. Uh, it's my charter. Well, it's my boat. Yeah, that's word for word, people. You get word for word. If I suspected plagiarism in someone, I would go into Google and I would just lift a sentence out of the middle of a paragraph in the middle of the essay and put it in search engine, and like that. That's how easy it is to detect plagiarism. But I was very good at just recognizing it. Now I think that with Chat GPT it is much more difficult, but I was good at that, and I picked up on that right away because I've seen Jaws so many times, and I recognize the dialogue, man. I mean, you just cannot do that with a movie of this kind in this kind of series. So that was really bad. So premise, I'd given, did I say 2 or 3? I think I said 2, yeah. And that goes along with the writing. The writing was 2 out of 10. I would give it all of that. Characters and cast, 3 out of 10. The whole family thing wandering in there. Look, the father had to be a terrible navigator not to know to go into an area that was criminalized internationally. Okay. I mean, if you know anything about cruising, about international waters and ships, and by the way, I have a stepson who is in the Navy, and he's been on an ocean, on an aircraft carrier, and on destroyers and things of this nature, and he's been with them for a while now. So he's made a profession of it, and they are professionals. They have to be. And this guy, he is not it. He is not it. I mean, you take this out like you're taking it out on a lake. This is the ocean we're talking about. And you're going into an area where there is a creature that is like a gigantic crocodile, okay? With flippers. And you've got other creatures that are equally deadly. They're not as big, but they are something to deal with. Production, I don't have that bad a problem with production. Director is Gareth Edwards. He's okay. Cinematography is great. As Jurassic Park, I would give that an 8. Okay, that's the best part of it. That and the CGI of the dinosaurs, and that's pretty much it. It's not so much the cast as the way the characters are written. Only the kid, the 10-year-old daughter, and the Dr. Loomis don't suck. The rest of them pretty much suck. Well, I guess for our team leader, though, we can say that he's not quite so sucky, but certainly Zora is the worst of them, and she, like I said, just insufferable. Who wants to watch a character like that? I mean, she's supposed to be the protagonist, really? She's callous, greedy, not that particularly smart. She she goes in acting like she's strolling into a supermarket, or she's going into a classroom and she's going to humiliate everybody. What what are you doing? How are you acting this? I don't think ScarJo is a bad actress, but I just think this was badly cast and it was badly written. So what else do we need to go over? I think that's just about it. Is there any balance in it? I don't think so. I don't see any balance. I mean, the family wandering in, that is just, it's like someone said they just needed some family, some fish out of water situation, and they're all fish out of water, aren't they? All of them. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good, how much of an expert you are in your field. You're not an expert in dinosaurs the way that Loomis is. Loomis is the only one who is a real expert, and yet they make fun of him. They say, oh, well, you can always just go to the zoo. No, that's not what a paleontologist does. Do Mr. Farmer Rep, do you not understand what the difference between an anthropologist and a paleontologist? I mean, it's total horse duty. Okay, well, overall, because cinematography and the CGI and dinos, and by the way, the biggest, baddest dinosaur looks like a Rancor from Star Wars. Yeah, seriously, like the Rancor. And again, not original. Stealing from another blockbuster movie. Just, stick a fork in Jurassic Park. It's done. Anyway, that's my assessment. And that's all for today. And I bid you a fond farewell. Thanks.